football around the corner, time to start building up that bankroll. And we want to help by slashing the cost of all daily picks packages priced at $25 or more, including 5% best bets through the end of July. This amazing promotion runs from Tuesday, July 12th to midnight on Sunday, July 31st, and drops the pricing down to $25 daily packages for $12.50, 29 daily combo packages for $14.50, and $35 5% best bets for $17.50. But even better, this is the perfect time to take advantage of our one-day all-access pass. This package locks in the handicapper of your choice for one whole day for only $39, including when they have a 5% top play that usually sells for $35. But during our 50% slash promotion, you get a one-day all-access for only $19.50. We know this business is loaded with competitors and copycats, and we are very proud and extremely excited to be one of, if not, the premier sports betting information provider in North America. Our special discount pricing goes live on Tuesday, runs through the end of the month, does not require a coupon, and is available just by going to your favorite WagerTalk or Sports Memo Handicappers homepage right now.
Happy Friday, everybody. Friday starts the weekend, and we are here to make your weekend a profitable one through the props betting markets. I am Andy Lang from WagerTalk.com, being joined always by my fellow prop masters, Matt Josephs from SportsMemo.com, Andrew McInnis from WagerTalk.com. We've got a lot to get to today. We're going to talk a little bit of CFL. Andrew's going to bring us up to speed what's going on in that league, and he's got some props for tonight. We're going to go over a little bit of baseball, and then we are quickly coming up on NFL season, so we're going to touch on some different props and some season win totals. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. It's a pretty incredible month of July. Basically, everything is half price on Wager Talk and Sports Memo, so a lot of great ways to increase those bankrolls at a really, really good discount. So, Matt, I'm going to come to you first. How has everything been going for you the last week? And how deep into college football are you right now?
Well, I mean, I got my Phil Steele college football preview, which is pretty essential for any college football fan. And I finally got to the Barnes & Noble here in Virginia, so I was able to start. I've been diving into the AAC, kind of going around a little bit and maybe trying to find some value in the AAC. So the prep work is really picking up now. And next week, I will be live at the ACC Media Days doing some interviews with players and coaches and media members and things like that, and really diving into the ACC. So that's when I kind of get a lot of the information from those guys and, get some sense as to who they like, quarterback battles, things like that. So really, this is where baseball kind of takes a little bit of a backseat and college football starts taking a little bit more because, last year we did really well in the college football win totals and we want to, do that again.
Yeah, and I mean, all-star break, you're going to have a pretty big break. So excited to get all the college football information coming your way. Andrew, been a really good summer so far. So how's the last week been? And CFL keeps chugging right along. What a great time of year for CFL to become part of our bankrolls. No NFL, no NBA, no NHL, but boy, there's a good old trusty CFL coming along. So how's the last week been for you?
Yeah, absolutely, Andy. They call it the dog days of summer here in July for us as sports fans and sports bettors, but there's always something, and then, of course, there's the prep work like Matt was just talking about, so always something to get into. I am coming off my first losing week of the season in the CFL, but hey, to have 4 winning weeks and one down week, I'll take that so far. It's hard to believe we're in week 6 approaching, but I have seen props at a lot of places now, which is exciting for us, and it's been good. One thing I wanted to mention real quick, if you're following this league, if you're betting props or just betting games right now, the West Division is now 13-1 straight up against the East. So they just continue to dominate. At yesterday, we had a plus 9.5 closing number on Edmonton. They win that game outright. So the league remains very competitive, and I've been definitely getting involved in the prop market. So things are pretty good. And coming off a 5% winner in the MLB last night on the Brewers, which was quite the sweat, but aren't they all?
Yeah, they definitely are. Once again, just want to remind everybody we got some incredible deals going on at the websites throughout July. We got half price on all of these plays. So if you want to grab auto racing, I'm still over 62% for the year. Auto racing could not be going better. We've got a 5% UFC play that is up for next week. So if you want to grab one and beat the number, go ahead and grab that. That's on my profile page at WagerTalk.com. Andrew's mentioned CFL doing really, really good in CFL, and Andrew has a 5% UFC for tomorrow. So you want to get a 5% locked in, go ahead and grab that. And you can also use the promo code Andrew30, so ANDREW30, Andrew30. That will take $100 off a 30-day pass. What a great time to grab it. You can grab the 5% play that's included. You get CFL. And Andrew, you are number one on 5% UFC plays the last year. That is not a small sample size. Congratulations on that. And nobody better in baseball with K-props than Matt Josephs at sportsmemo.com. You can grab all of his baseball plays on Sports Memo. And listen, he absolutely nailed college football season win totals. So take a look at that as soon as he has those coming out. But in the meantime, grab all of his baseball plays and get ready for college football. It's going to be a banger for sure. So Matt, I'm going to go to you first. Let's talk about the baseball markets. I feel like you and me are starting to find value in the outs markets. I've hit a couple of these. So where are you at with the outs markets compared to the K props? Have you made the switch, or you dabbling with both? Where are you at with baseball right now?
Well, I mean, I've looked at the outs, and the key for the outs prop, or at least that I've found, and you get yours thoughts on this, is, when we get a pitcher after a couple days of heavy bullpen usage, these guys, there are some guys that are going to go deeper. Like I'll go back to a couple days ago, I hit the over on Bo Brisky. Because the Tigers the previous 2 days had a lot of bullpen usage, and they needed Bo Brisky to go. And he had I think it was a rough first inning. And then he kept going and kept plowing along. And I'll tell you this, I mean, especially on the road, the Rockies are letting Kyle Freeland and Herman Marquez go a little bit deeper, even if they're bad. And you've talked about Mike Minor, who's done it. Unfortunately, he was really bad against the Yankees and didn't go over his outs prop. But, there's certain pitchers you're learning. You look today at Sandy Alcantara. Now it's minus 165 now, so I'm not going to take it because that's a little pricey. But his over 20.5 looks like it's the highest number on the board, but he's gone over that number in 12 straight starts. And so you just got to kind of find the right pitchers that are either the guys that teams ride a whole bunch, or you look at the previous few days and see the bullpen usage, and if there's a lot of bullpen games, the Phillies had a bunch of bullpen games. I lost with Zach Wheeler in Toronto, but they had 2 bullpen games in the span of 3 days, so I figured Zach Wheeler was going to go deep. Unfortunately, he was terrible, so it didn't help, but you got to look for those situations, especially, maybe early on in the second half of the season coming out of the All-Star break.
Yeah, I talked yesterday about Johnny Cueto going over. He's a guy that they leave in, and he struggled early, and then they left him again. And you're right, it's actually pretty easy to look at to find these guys that are pitching day after bullpen games. It doesn't require a whole lot of research. You just find a team that they're doing a bullpen game tonight. Well, who are they throwing out tomorrow? Let's take a look at those outs. So I think they're good. And you mentioned Alcantara's juice, but I find correct me if I'm wrong, I find the juice to be a lot more tolerable. The books aren't heavily juicing like they are the K props. Am I wrong in saying that?
I agree with that.
Well, I think for some of the outs props, they price you out of it. So, you look this morning, I'm trying to find one real quick, Zach Plesac's minus 215 on the over. Robbie Ray was minus 190. He's up to minus 210. Now, this is where if you really like something, you can go and do a mini parlay. Now, it gets kind of complicated because you're doing 2 separate things, but there was somebody that I really liked this morning in terms of their K prop, but it was way too juicy. If you parlay that with Sandy Alcantara's outs over, then you kind of make yourself a little bit, tidier in terms of how much you pay. I'm just not one of these guys who's going to swallow a lot of juice, even especially something like this. If Alcantara gets a blister, if Alcantara, something happens to him, he doesn't go 7 innings, and here you are, you lay that big juice. That's always a worry when you're looking at one player as opposed to a whole team.
Classic blister theory.
Andy, I've actually been betting those too. I've been betting the outs as well, actually. Yeah, I've enjoyed them because I honestly find them less frustrating. I think that you could obviously some pitchers, they pitch, they're strikeout guys. Some pitchers are ground ball guys, and you just need them to stay in the game a long time. And it's like you guys just said, if you can handicap that a guy will be in there for a decent amount of time, check out how many innings they usually go, or like you said, you're coming off an opener type bullpen game. Expecting someone to stay in the game long is pretty much the handicap with this, and I think it's a little less frustrating. You could see a guy and take his K prop, have an unbelievable game, but just fall short of that K prop number. And, that's just really frustrating to me. I'm almost like these out props a lot more than the K props lately. And you said, the juice tolerance is nicer as well. I mean, Matt, I've been struggling with what Matt's been talking about with giving out these K props, and then 3 hours later, the one that was minus 140 you gave out is like minus 220. Like, I don't know how you do it, Matt. I mean, people have to be all access subscribers in order to get those.
Yeah, certainly. It's and not to mention the different books. I mean, look, FanDuel's different than DraftKings is different than, BetMGM basically copies FanDuel, I believe. So you can't really go to, but like these books, they're so different, and the juices are so different, and the numbers can be so different. Like Ian Anderson's 4.5 in one place, he's 3.5 in another place. What was it? There was one earlier this week where the guy, Josiah Gray, opened at like 6.5 and went down to 4.5 by the time the game started. Of course, it got rained out, so I thought that was interesting. But you rarely see guys have their K-prop number move to. But Josiah Gray's did to move down to earlier this week. So, yeah. And I guess the toughest thing is, and you guys could both talk about this too, is trying to figure out which thing you want to do, whether it is the K-prop or whether it is the outs and whether it is the earns run allowed, because you don't want to invest so much in one outcome, and then when that outcome doesn't happen, you lose all 3 bets. So I feel like at times it's struggling to decide which one of those I want to play.
Yeah, it's different, and you always got to be on your toes, and you got to be willing to adjust when you're doing this. You can't just stick with one thing. The books are always adjusting; they're adjusting their pricing. So to grab the best number, you've always got to be paying attention and willing to move around and test out some different markets. Andrew, I want to come to you to talk about CFL. I actually watched some of that game that you referenced last night. It was 31-12 at one point, and then all of a sudden it's like 32-31. So talk to us about CFL. You mentioned the big discrepancy in the East and the West, but I've enjoyed watching CFL, and you can clearly see that at least I feel like we're starting to see a lot more overs start to hit. Feels like the teams on offense are clicking a little bit more. You got a couple props that you want to mention for tonight. So give us just a quick overview of CFL up to this point, and then talk to us about these props for tonight.
Well, if you're a fan of really good tackling, as Dave Koken mentioned on Twitter last night, you might not like this league. If you're a fan of exciting plays, comebacks, and that type of stuff, this is the league for you. No, in all seriousness, though, Andy, I mean, one thing that's great about the 3 downs, seriously, is the fact that these comebacks can come a lot easier, and that's one of my arguments to people trying to get them into the CFL. Look, I'm still an American football guy. I love college football. I love NFL, but a few 2-and-outs, and all of a sudden you're back in the game, and that's what we're seeing in the CFL right now. We're seeing all kinds of comebacks like that. But yeah, the West versus East dominance is a thing. And I will say, if you're taking some of these teams that are at these massive spreads, even if you're laying a touchdown or higher, I highly recommend just taking a look at the team totals for these guys. A lot of the times we're seeing the back door wide open for the cover, but these favorites are already cashing in on their team totals, just like Montreal did last night. If you were a Montreal team total over better, you weren't worried about that backdoor cover, let alone outright loss to Edmonton. You would have already cashed a ticket with them scoring enough points. And it's kind of very similar to the teams that are at the bottom feeders right now, like Ottawa, last place there in the East. They're struggling right now. Starting quarterback goes down with an injury. take a look at their team total under. It's kind of one of those keep it simple, stupid type things, Andy, with this league right now. And travel spots. I know I've got some props coming up here in a second, but travel spots right now are so huge in the CFL, whether it's been a team, how many weeks they've been away in a row. Are they coming from west to east? Right now, you actually have a situation where I'm looking forward to it, where I'm actually going to a game. The NFL goes to London. Well, the CFL goes to Halifax, my hometown. They've been trying to get an expansion there for a while. And I think the pandemic kind of messed it all up, but we're hopefully going to get one soon. But yeah, we've got, a team coming from west, way east in my neck of the woods. That's certainly a factor. Also some injuries and that kind of stuff. But make sure if you're betting the CFL, you figure out the travel path for some of these teams, because Canada's a big country, guys, and a lot of travel going on with these two clubs, or a lot of these clubs. But I got some props, and that's for tonight's game. We have the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, back-to-back Grey Cup champions, off a statement win last week over the BC Lions. I've got two props in this game. The first one I'm looking at, we've got Greg Ellingson over 70.5 receiving yards here. Greg Ellingson is one of my favorite receivers in the CFL, and this is a guy that's, he was kind of flopping around the league a little bit, to say the least. I mean, he's someone that was a steady guy, and with Edmonton, and then he was with Ottawa, and now finding a home back at Edmonton again, with Winnipeg. And I look at kind of what he's done. He's been someone that wasn't expected to be as heavily targeted as he is right now. I feel like since the opening week, since the season really started, he has been trustworthy. Zach Collaros and him have developed that chemistry. 7 targets and 7 catches last week for 98 yards. Before that, again, he cashed in for 80 yards. This is a guy that he's good for being Mr. Consistent, but he'll also get you that 30 or 35 yarder as well. And someone that I can trust against a Calgary team that is involved in shootouts every single week. And I do expect tonight's game to see points, and I expect players like Greg Ellingson to play a huge factor in them. And as far as the Calgary Stampeders go, I'm actually taking a look at a rushing prop for them with Kadeem Carey over 67.5 rushing yards. A guy that, again, this is a team that goes deep. They throw the ball quite a bit. They've got a talented, previous quarterback that was a most outstanding player in the league, but with Bo Levi Mitchell. But Kadeem Carey is someone that just bounces off people. I mean, he is a all-star running back, someone that is very consistent, puts up big numbers, coming off a 104-yard performance, and someone that continues to put up these type of numbers with ease. And I feel like people might think that, they're going to be down in the game, have to throw the ball. But I feel like a secret to success for the Stamps in this game tonight, guys, will be to get that run game going, get Kadeem Carey involved here, and get him involved in this game early. So I think at 67.5 yards, they're kind of lowballing us here. So that's 2 props. We got 1 receiving prop with Greg Ellingson and 1 rushing prop with Kadeem Carey of the Calgary Stampeders. So, of course, there is the side and total to bet, first half team totals, but 2 props, receiving prop and rushing prop. Look forward to cashing both these tickets.
Great stuff in the CFL. We've also got our Prop It Up Bet of the Week coming up at the end of the show. Let's shift our focus to the NFL. Matt, we started talking a little bit about some player futures. Let's touch on some of the team totals, maybe some season wins, anything. I guess we could start with your Philadelphia Eagles. What's your take on your hometown team? Their season win totals at 9.5. I'm high on the Philadelphia Eagles. I really like what they've done, and that division, I think you guys got a really, really good division to beat up on this year. So Philadelphia Eagles, we obviously want to get your take on, and then any other teams that you've kind of been looking on.
Well, everything's positive. And by the way, don't forget, they opened up actually at 8.5 in the offseason and went up to 9.5. And I think in some places they actually went up to 10. So, the optimism is there. And the thing you look at when you look at the Eagles, the quarterback list, the teams that they play outside of, their division. Dak is okay. And then you look at, like, they play Aaron Rodgers, they play Kyler Murray, but they play Kyler Murray without DeAndre Hopkins, and we know what that was like. If you look at the other games outside their division, they get Jared Goff, they get Kirk Cousins, they get Trevor Lawrence, they get whoever the Steelers quarterback is, they get Matt Ryan, who will be 97 years old by then. They get Davis Mills, they get Ryan Tannehill and Justin Fields. So, like, the Eagles benefit. I mean, if you look at last year, the games they lost and they struggled with were against the good quarterbacks. And the one thing you look at here is they do have a late 3-game road trip, which is always disappointing that the NFL sets things up like that. So there's potentially a couple losses there. But to me, it seems like double-digit wins is at least reasonable for this team. 10 wins, 11 wins. I mean, probably maybe even 12. It depends on Jalen Hurts. But, yeah, the optimism levels are really high for this team. I think there's some value potentially to take them to win the division. There's also the value on the – what is that? I forget what they call it, but when you predict the top 2 of the division and if you pair up the Cowboys and the Eagles, it's the favorite, obviously, because of that. But, I mean, I still think there's some value there. The other team I kind of like, at least a little bit in terms of their thing, is I'm not as high on the Bengals. If you look at the Bengals' schedule this year, they've got so many tough games. And, look, they did improve their offensive line, but their defense, I think, has still got a little bit of an issue. I expect Burrow to take a little bit of a step back. I think, 10 is just such a high number for the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't know what you guys think, but as I pull up their schedule, you look at their last couple of games, they've got all the tough teams towards the end of the season, and I'm high on the Ravens. I'm higher on the Steelers if they can figure out their quarterback situation. And, of course, the Browns are the great wild card because who knows if Deshaun Watson will be there. But I think the under for the Bengals is one of my better plays. 10, even if they get 10 wins, you still get a push. So what do you guys think about the under on the Bengals, Andy?
I believe in the Super Bowl hangover type deal. It just feels like every single time that we're like, maybe that angle is a little overblown. The team that loses the Super Bowl struggles a little bit. I like taking unders for mostly with team totals because let's face it, if Burrow has an injury and has to sit out 3 or 4 games, Matt, that bet is probably a lock to. And you mentioned, their offensive line got better, but how good is it? It's a brutal schedule. So if anything, I would lean to the under on that one. And I love that they didn't put it at like 9.5 with the hook. I love that 10 wins get you the push. So Andrew,
by the way, Andy, real quick. So like here, so their last 8 games at Steelers, at Titans, Chiefs, Browns at home, at Bucks, at Patriots, home Bills, home Ravens. Like, how many wins can they have in that group? That's a pretty tough 8 games right there.
I think a lot of.
Go ahead, Andrew.
Sorry, Andy. No, sorry.
No,
Andy,
go ahead, Andrew.
I was just gonna say, I think a lot of big games and comebacks or top tier performances from that team all around would have to happen for that to go over. Matt talks about the schedule at the end of the season there. I was looking at the same thing. And, I when I was looking at the Bengals, everybody can't stop talking about their offensive line improvements. Oh, my God. No one's going to touch Burrow this season. He's going to be able to just sit in the pocket for 30 seconds. There still are some problems there. And you talk about the defense. And I think that Burrow made a lot of plays into something that should have been nothing. And I'm not saying he can't do it again, but I still believe that there's going to be some teams that are going to be able to get after him. And the hangover to me is a thing, but I also think it's also teams are going to have film on them. This is what this team did well. This is who they are. This is what they like to do. This is what Burrow likes to do when he does this. And I feel like 10 is just a real high number. So yeah, I was excited about the offensive line moves as everybody else in the world seems to be. And, he's only young. He's got a young receiving core, but I think that's a high number. And I think that people are going to be excited because, you talk about that 10, how nice getting that flat 10 is versus the 9.5 that I believe was out there for a short period of time. I think it's nice because I do think that at worst, this is a push, guys. But kind of funny here, fellas, the only over I'm really looking at for this, I mean, there's some teams there. We could go for some overs with some of these talented teams, but the Jacksonville Jaguars, I have looked at it. I have thought about it, and I can't even say it with a straight face, but I think there's some improvements. Coaching staff, they pick up a lot of guys. Their division's weaker around them. and it's 4.5. I mean, I know they haven't surpassed this in years. And the last time this team made a playoff game, I think I was probably an infant. So, but I think at 4.5, that's a pretty low number. And I've looked at kind of some moves they've made. I like their new coaching staff. I think they can do it, but other than that, I'm on unders. I'm on Bears under. I'm on Giants under. I might look at, my Packers, Andy. I like them, but
Andrew, the big improvement with Jacksonville is they have a coach that isn't going to abandon them on a team flight to go fondle a woman in a bar. So, anytime you can make that upgrade at coach, I think you're in a good spot. I listen, I'm with you. I think our division is bad. I mean, they are going to get Houston twice. They always seem to bother the Colts and the Titans. I'm not really sure what to expect from the Titans. You mentioned the Giants. There's two unders that I'm staring at. The Washington Commanders, they have them at 8 wins. First off, it's just I mean, the franchise as a whole is just completely there's no organization with them whatsoever. There's no hierarchy. Nobody knows who's in control. And then, of course, they have their defensive coordinator. Like, only one team has just somehow managed to get involved in politics this offseason. Of course, it's Washington. Why wouldn't it be? No good franchises get involved with stuff like that. They go out and they, for whatever reason, go after Carson Wentz. But 8 wins, I don't see it. I think the Eagles are much better. The Cowboys always seem to beat them up. So I'm looking at under on the Commanders. And then the other one, I'm not high on the San Francisco 49ers. I don't like what's going on with the quarterback. I think Trey Lance is way too raw, and the win total is 10. And I just, if they're going to roll with Trey Lance the entire season, I think asking Trey Lance to try and win you 11 games is just 11 wins is incredible, but they're going to try and ask Trey Lance, who hasn't thrown a whole lot, hasn't played a whole lot, even in college hasn't played a whole lot. And so then they still have this Jimmy Garoppolo thing kind of hanging over the head. There's just a lot of uncertainty. They're going to be good, but I can't fathom seeing Trey Lance win 11 games.
That's a good one, Andy. What about the Bills? What do you guys think about the Bills? I mean, you got Andy, you said you mostly bet unders, and I get it for injury purposes, and I almost even find for research sometimes out the gate, it's easier for me to say, yes, this team's going to go under more than getting super excited about a team going over, because lots of things have to happen, kind of like what I was saying with the Bengals. But I have high hope for the Bills this year. I think a lot of people do as well. Can they get over that number, though? What do you guys think about the Bills this year?
See, a big number like this to me, Matt, is a stay away, because if Josh Allen stays healthy, they can probably get there. But one Josh Allen injury, and then you're sunk. You're never going to get over this total. So I don't know, Matt. What's your take on these teams that are the Super Bowl favorites trying to take their over win totals? Right now, it's 11.5.
Well, I mean, I think as you said, I mean, you're trying to find. It's funny because it kind of goes with everything. Like, I don't like the high-end K-prop market. I don't like the high-end of the high-end of like the Giannis's and the PRAs and stuff like that. Because the books know that you're going to blindly bet the over because everybody thinks the Bills are going to win the Super Bowl this year. And they're like, oh, well, if they win the Super Bowl, they're going to have to win 13 games to do it. And you look at that division, the Jets are improved. The Dolphins are improved. The Patriots are always a pest. And so if you're going to get only 3 or 4 wins at the most in your division, and remember, they're going to have a first-place schedule this year, and so they play the Browns and they play, some of these other tough teams. I don't like taking the overs on these teams because you need a perfect ride. You need a perfect, clean ride the whole time, and they may have it, but I'm not going to – how often in the NFL do you have teams that just don't have injury issues and just don't have some sort of adversity to overcome? So I'm not saying I would take the under, but I'm not rushing to take the over just because I think that they have a chance to win the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm with you. I don't even really look at numbers that high to take overs. If anything, I'm looking for reasons to take under. So I do have to mention my Colts and our 97-year-old quarterback, as Matt put it. I was shocked to see them put the Colts at 10 wins, and then I looked at the schedule, and it makes sense. I mean, they get the Texans twice. They get the Jaguars twice. They get Washington. They get Pittsburgh. Who knows what's going on with that quarterback? They got the Vikings, the Chargers, but then they finish off the season with the Giants. They got a really, really good schedule. So I know their defense is going to be good. Their running game is going to be really good. I gotta believe Matt Ryan is at least a little upgrade over Carson Wentz. So when I saw 10 wins, I was like, oh, no way. You got
how little of an upgrade?
Well, if you watch the last 2 games of the year for the Colts, like I did, it's a huge upgrade. So, huge upgrade. Matt Ryan's not going to scramble off to his right and throw the ball 40 yards across his body right to the other team when he has a first down right ahead of him. So, we'll just go with a little bit of an upgrade. But
well, now wait a second, Andy. I'll tell you this: they also have the massive upgrade at backup quarterback. They have the GOAT himself. I mean, when Matt Ryan gets hurt, you've got Nick Foles to step in and win you games, and that's going to help you out immensely.
Maybe we can play both of them at the same time. That way we get the experience with the 97-year-old experience with the greatness of Nick Foles. Yeah, wonderful pickup by the Colts. So I don't know. 10 wins seems about right, actually, when I look at the schedule. So, all right, guys, let's do the prop it up a bet of the week. Andrew, you missed Matt, just a cagey veteran move last week. His bet of the week was an NFL future. So that way, if it doesn't hit, he never gets to bring it up. But if it hits in December, he can be like, I just hit.
Andy, we won't forget. We won't forget.
This is so good. All right. We talked about the outs total earlier in the show, and I'm going to go with an out prop. I'm going to go with Jordan Montgomery over 16 and a half outs. He has gone over this total in 8 out of 9 games. He went over the last game he pitched against Boston. The last game he pitched was against Boston. Boston not hitting very well. A little bit of a slump. They've lost 8 out of 9. Boston has scored 4, 1, and 2 in their last 3 games. And this is right before the All-Star break. There's really not a reason to save him. The Yankees left Cortez in for 7 innings last night. They used a bullpen game before that, and then they left Garrett Cole in for 7 innings 2 games ago. So I think the Yankees are leaving their starters in as it's their last start before the All-Star break. 16 and a half outs is very doable for him against a Boston team that seems to be struggling a little bit. So for the prop of the week, let's do Jordan Montgomery over 16 and a half outs. I want to remind everybody all plays at WagerTalk and Sports Memo are going to be half price for the month of July. Take advantage of it. You can get K-props from Matt Josephs. You can get CFL and Andrew's 5% UFC play up on WagerTalk. Myself, we have auto racing. We're hitting 62% there. I've also got a 5% UFC play for next week. That is all on WagerTalk.com. Great opportunity to take advantage of some sports and some handicappers that maybe you've been interested in but haven't quite pulled the trigger, as we have really high-quality picks at a discounted price for a short period of time. So make sure you visit myself and Andrew at WagerTalk.com and Matt Josephs at SportsMemo.com. All right, guys, it's going to do it for us. Another great show. Thank you so much. Hope everyone has a profitable weekend. And we will see you once again next week on another edition of Prop It Up.
With football around the corner, time to start building up that bankroll. And we want to help by slashing the cost of all daily picks packages priced at $25 or more, including 5% best bets through the end of July. This amazing promotion runs from Tuesday, July 12th to midnight on Sunday, July 31st, and drops the pricing down to $25 daily packages for $12.50, $29 daily combo packages for $14.50, and $35 5% best bets for $17.50. But even better, this is the perfect time to take advantage of our one-day all-access pass. This package locks in the handicapper of your choice for one whole day for only $39, including when they have a 5% top play that usually sells for $35. But during our 50% slash promotion, you get a one-day all-access for only $19.50. We know this business is loaded with competitors and copycats, and we are very proud and extremely excited to be one of, if not, the premier sports betting information provider in North America. Our special discount pricing goes live on Tuesday, Runs through the end of the month, does not require a coupon, and is available just by going to your favorite WagerTalk or Sports Memo Handicappers homepage right now.